Hey friends, I hope that this video finds you well. Today we find a rather problematic piece of scripture. It's in the 5th chapter, verses 3 to 5. Here we find that Ananias and his wife sold a piece of property. And they told the community outside, presented to the world, that they had given all of the proceeds from that sale to the church, to the early Christian community, where in reality, underneath the surface, underneath that mask, they kept a significant portion for themselves. As Patrick said so eloquently a few days ago when he did an overview of all of chapter 5, I don't think the problem here is that Ananias and his wife, didn't give 100% of all their belongings to the church. I don't think is quite the focal point. The thing instead that I would like to suggest that we reflect on for today is of integrity, which seems to be so important for the early Christian community and the early church. How you're presenting yourself, the mask that you wear, how you talk and speak and dialogue with other people, is that in reality what's going on the inside? Is that what's happening behind closed doors as you're making deals with other people and you're interacting with other people in not such public spaces? Are you the same person the whole way through? And I think that's a question that we should really spend some time thinking about. Because in honesty, if we're going to be humble for a second, there are little lies that we tell all the time. Stupid lies. Lies that don't need to be said at all. The fish was this big when really it was, this big. Just little exaggerations all the time that are not entirely truthful. For Ananias, it was saying that he gave the entire proceeds, and look how awesome I am, and taking the benefits of that praise for doing what seemed to be a great thing, when in reality, that wasn't the entire truth of what was happening in that moment. I think Howard Thurman provides a lot of language for us if we're really reflecting on what it means to have integrity and what is integrity. Howard Thurman would say that integrity is all about what is the smallest unit of yourself that is whole and fully contained. In other words, using the language of integers, which is that which in yourself which doesn't have any fractions, it's whole, and of prime numbers, it can't be divided by itself. What is that smallest unit of yourself at your core, the piece that is expressed in the fullness of yourself all throughout the interior life, into the exterior life? What is that integer? And does it show through in the full interior life and in the full exterior life? That is integrity. It sounds rather theoretical and abstract, but it takes root in application pretty darn quickly. For today, one of the topical considerations that as the church we should definitely be asking is around our own racism. I am a white person. I was raised with the privilege and still continue to have the privilege that comes with being a white person. Part of what that means is biases that, if left unchecked, and the journey of being a growing person who cares about persons of color and a truly multicultural community is to continually challenge yourself to do this work. But the work before us as persons with privilege is to constantly be asking ourselves, who am I at my core? What are the pieces that I'm allowing to hang out in that space that really shouldn't be there, such as biases? And how does that core live out in the fullness of my interior life and my exterior life? And all the masks that I wear, whether I'm at work or whether I'm with friends or whether I'm with family, how am I that same person in all the spaces of my life? It is challenging work, but friends, this is important work. And if you're wondering right now, what are things that I can be doing? This may be a good place to start, is to doing challenging work within yourself, so that way you can be fully present with what's happening all around us. I invite you, if you would really like to dive into your privilege, which I think the church should really be encouraging as a whole, Church Universal in this moment, always, but especially in this moment, is to consider joining a book discussion that we're going to be having starting on June 15th. Mondays at 7 p.m., we're going to be gathering by Zoom, and we're going to be talking together through Robin DiAngelo's book titled White Fragility. It's a book that goes into why it is so hard for white people to talk about racism and race in general. We're going to be diving into some of these dimensions of what are the biases that are at play that we've been taught that we don't realize we're operating with. What are the ways in which we can identify them so we can work on them? And what are the ways in which, if we say that we care about persons of color, our siblings in Christ, what are the ways in which we can do that work all the way down to our core in a way that has integrity throughout the fullness of our interior and exterior life? It's important work. It's holy work. It is sacred work. And friends, right now, it is absolutely essential that we start having these conversations with ourselves and with one another. So I invite you to that book discussion. I invite you to consider for yourself what it means to have integrity. I invite you, rather than even adding a comment down below about maybe some of the ways that you're finding yourself to not have integrity, because that can be a really vulnerable thing to share. Think on it, journal it, but maybe instead share the book discussion and sign up for that book discussion, which you can find on our Facebook page and in the e-news. I hope that you are well. Know that the church is here for you to provide a listening ear, to challenge you if you feel like that is something that would be helpful in this time. We are in this together. And there is great love in this place. Take care.